Algebra 1, last lesson. Last lesson, all right? Let's finish it strong. So we're just factoring out the greatest common factor. Let's see, the name of the lesson is factoring out the greatest common factor. Wow, I can't believe I actually got that right. Okay, so we spent the last lesson, just basically figuring out what is the greatest common factor. So we want to figure out what the greatest common factor is between these two. We're gonna pull it out. I'm gonna show you how it works. All right. This is easy stuff. Okay. So what's the greatest common factor between 6 and 2? Well, it'd be 2. Okay. So 2 is the greatest common factor. Right. So we're gonna pull a 2 out. All right. Now, what's the greatest common factor between x squared and x cubed? Well, it's going to be x squared. Okay. So remember, if you need to go back and watch the last YouTube video that I did on figuring out what the greatest common factor is, then go back and watch it. All right, and then it kind of explains. Okay. So now the way I'm gonna factor this is so once I figure out what the greatest common factor is, I write it here and then I put a parentheses. Now, here's what I'm going to ask myself. 2x squared times what gives me 6x cubed? And that's going to be 3. So 2 times 3 gives me 6. And then x squared times what gives me x cubed? Well, x. Okay? Now I'm going to ask, okay, 2x squared times what gives me 2x squared? Well, that's positive 1. And so I just factored out this binomial right here. Okay, all right, let's look at one that's a little bit longer here. But this isn't a problem. Okay, what's the greatest common factor of all 4 of these terms? The greatest common factor. So it has to be a factor of all 4 terms. Okay. Think you know what it is? Well, it's going to be 2. So I know I can pull out a 2. Okay. Now we're just going to go and we're going to look at each of the variables. So I have an x cubed here. I have an x cubed here. I have an x squared here and an x here. All right. How many x's can I pull out of here that are common to all of these? Well, all of these have at least one x. Matter of fact, this one only has one x. So I can't say that it's x squared because this term only has one x. It doesn't have 2 x's. So I can pull out an x from here. I can pull out an x from here. I can pull an x out from here. I can pull an x out from here. Okay, I can't pull out 2 x's from here because there's only one x. So it's just going to be x. Okay. Now this has a y to the 4th. This has y squared, and y to the 3rd. Okay. So I can take out a y squared here, I can take out a y squared here, I can take out a y squared here, and I can take out a y squared here. So can I take out a y cubed from here? No, because there's only y squared there. So it's just going to be y squared. Okay? So I've dealt with my coefficient greatest common factor, which is 2. I've dealt with my x greatest common factor, which is x to the 1st, and I've dealt with my y greatest common factor, which is y squared. Now I'm just going to put my parentheses here, and I'm going to ask the question, 2xy squared times what gives me 8x cubed y to the 4th? So we're always going to start off working from left to right. Well, it's going to be 4x squared y squared. So check it. 2 times 4 gives me 8. X times x squared gives me x to the 3rd. And y squared times y squared gives me y to the 4th. Okay? Now, 2 times what, or 2xy squared times what gives me negative 4x cubed y squared? Well, it's going to be negative 2 So that 2 times negative 2 gives me my negative 4. And then x times what gives me x cubed? Well, x squared. Y squared times what gives me y squared? Well, it's just we don't have to multiply anything, it would be 1, so we can just leave it just like that. Okay, next one. 2 times what gives me negative 6? Well, that's going to be negative 3. X times what gives me x squared? X. Y squared times what gives me y squared? Well, 1, so I don't have to put anything there. That's ready to go. Last one. Okay, so this is going to be, okay, so 2 times what gives me 2? Well, it's positive 1. All right, which we don't have to write that positive 1. Okay, x times what gives me x? Well, 1 again. All right, y squared times what gives me y cubed? Y. Okay, so if I take 2xy squared times y, that gives me 2xy cubed. And there's my answer. All right, let's see. Let's do 2 more. 2 more. Okay. All right, so we need to first off, what is the greatest common factor between these right here? The greatest common factor. Greatest common factor. Okay, if you need to do the prime factorization, then go ahead and do that. But maybe we can just think about it without having to do that. Okay, let's just list out our factors. What are our factors of 30? Well, that's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Okay, all right. 2 times what gives me 30? 3 times what gives me 30? Okay, so we got 3 times 10 would give me 30, so 10 is a factor. 2 times 15 would give me 30. Okay, and then of course 30 itself. Okay, so there's our factors of 30. Okay, what's our factors of 12? Well, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. 7, nope. 8, nope. 9, nope. Okay, so there's our factors of 6. And then what about our factors of 18? Well, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 is not a factor, 5 is not a factor, 6 is a factor, 7 is not a factor, 8 is not a factor, 9 is a factor, 10 is not a factor. So there's our factors of 18. Now I know I'm doing a little bit different, but so what's the highest number that these all have in common? Well, 6. Right? Yep. Okay, so I can pull out a 6. Okay, how about let's look at our y variables. Okay, we have a y squared here, we have a y here, and a y here. So how many y's can we factor out? Well, remember, we could pull 2 y's from here, but we wouldn't be able to 2 y's from here, so it's not y squared. But I know I can pull 1 y from here, I can pull a y from here, and I can pull a y from here, so it's going to be 1, so y. All right, and then the last one's going to be z. All right, okay, so my greatest common factor is 6yz. Now, 6yz times what gives me 30y squared z? Well, it's going to be 5. Okay, y times what gives me y squared? Y. And then z times 1. So we don't need to put times 1 here. We can just leave it like that. Okay, 6yz times what gives me 12yz squared? Well, it's going to be positive 2. Okay, we already have our y, and then it's going to be times z, because z times z gives me my z squared. So double check it. 6 times 2 is 12. y times 1 is y, and then z times z is z squared, okay? Last one, last term of this problem. 6 times what is going to give me negative 18? Well, it's going to be negative 3. And then we have yz here and yz here, so that's it. It's just negative 3. And there's my factoring. All right, one more. One more. All right, what's our greatest common factor between 16 and 24? Okay, so our factors of 16 are 1, 2, 4, right? These are all factors of 16. 2 times 8, 4 times 4, okay. That's it. And over here, we've got 1, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. Okay, we can keep going here, right? But there's no point because we already see the highest number we have over here is 4. So our greatest common factor is going to be 4 as far as the numerical. So we can pull a 4 out here, right? Actually, we're not done yet. Pull 4. And then we have a p to the third and a p to the fourth. What do you think we can pull out? We can pull out, the most we can pull out is p to the third because this is limited to p to the third. I can't pull p to the fourth out of here because that's only to the third power. Okay? So I've factored out my greatest common factor. Now, okay, 4 times what gives me 16? Positive 4. P to the third times what gives me p to the fourth? P. 4 times what gives me negative 24? Negative 6. P third. And that's it. That is our factoring right there. Okay, again, I wish I could teach this to you in person so you could ask questions and I could see you do the examples and I could help you through them. I want to thank you for an awesome year. This is our last lesson. I hope it's been a good year. I know the last 2 months, who could have ever guessed that we would have missed the last 2 months of school like this. It was a bummer. Hey, we'll get back at it next year, okay? I don't know who your math teacher is going to be next year. I'm sure they'll be better than I've been, okay? But you guys are all awesome. I've appreciated each and every one of you, and I look forward to seeing you next year, okay? I'll probably see you before then, but just talking about school, I do look forward to next school year. I think I'll be most likely just teaching Bible. That may change, though. So, okay, God bless y'all.